Hello and thank you for joining us on CN Live. I'm Colion, and our first guest is an Olympic shooting legend. She's the only American to win 6 individual medals, the third woman to win medals in 6 different Olympic games, and the first American to win medals on 5 different continents. And of course, I'm talking about Kim Rhode, who should be on a Wheaties box by now.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Kim?
I'm good. I'm getting used to all this technology stuff. I'm not quite used to the Skyping yet, but
Stop it. Anybody who runs a gun like you should be able to do everything.
I love it. Thanks.
So you are so tied to the Olympic Games. Do any of the games stand out in your mind?
Well, obviously, my first Olympics is amazing. I was 16 when I went to my first Olympics in Atlanta, turned 17 five days before my event. And I think you're first in anything you never really forget. And for me, being in front of that, USA crowd cheering, the opening ceremonies, that one has just really stuck with me through and through.
Yeah. Now, at this point, does it kind of, like you said, I agree with you. Your first time is always going to be the most memorable. Do you feel like you've reached a point now where it kind of, I don't want to say lose the effect or some of the energy, but how much of a drop off do you usually experience when after you've gotten the first one out of the way, and then now things seem to be a little bit more routine?
Well, the first Olympics, you really don't know what's coming or what's going to happen. So you kind of lose that a little bit as you go to the different Olympics. Mm-hmm. But I have to say, each Olympics is so unique. In Atlanta, you have the hometown USA cheering, and I think they cheer just a little bit louder. And it's almost like they're helping you to pull the trigger each and every time.
Yeah.
Whereas in, Athens, you're marching through tunnels that athletes marched through thousands of years ago, and you have that history and ambiance. To Beijing, where they were overly prepared, and Rio, those beautiful white sand beaches. Each one is so unique. It brings something new to the table.
How was Rio? just out of curiosity. It's your fault. You contrasted it with Beijing, and then you hit me with Rio, and I'm kind of like, well, there you have it.
Well, Rio was incredible. I have to say they pulled it off. The people really came together. And for me, it was fantastic. Uh-huh. The beaches, the scenery, the things that we got to go see, like Sugarloaf, and just some of the ambiance that they had was just incredible. And I have to say, they pulled it off. It was great. The athletes were happy with for us, where we were shooting was completely done. It was beautiful with a huge stand, great audience, and it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Now, if you had your choice, what would be like your fantasy destination for an Olympic Games?
Oh man, that would be a tough one. I love like the islands, Tahiti, those places, but that's just so unrealistic for
what's fantasy?
The size and the scope of it. But it's fantasy. You can dream of anything. Yeah. So I would have to pick some place out in the Pacific Islands, or some place like Fiji, Tahiti, some place quite like that. Because I have to admit, I'm a beach lover.
Gotcha. I've never been in the Olympics, but if I had to answer that question, I think I'd answer it the exact same way.
Why not, right?
Yeah, right. So for people who don't know, tell us about the different events you've competed in.
Well, I've actually competed in all 3 shooting or shotgun events in the Olympics. So I started off in international skeet, and my event was actually eliminated in 96. So a lot of people don't realize that prior to 1996, I was actually forced to switch to doubles trap, which was the only event women could compete in. And that's where you get 2 targets thrown simultaneously away from you about 70, 75 miles an hour. Jesus. You get 1 shot at each target. And then I went into back to international skeet when they eliminated doubles trap in 2004. And international skeet is very different from doubles. You basically start with the gun at your hip. When you call pull, the bird can come out the second you call pull, or up to 3 seconds, anywhere at random. And you get singles and doubles depending on which station you're on. And the targets actually cross in front of you. So very different. And then this last Olympics, I, just for the fun of it, shot bunker. So I've had the honor of competing in all 3 shotgun events.
That is freaking amazing. I'm also looking at some of this footage of the way you shoot. I'm horrible at skeet, trap, or anything that involves shotguns and flying disc. I'm done. It's so automatic. It's like, is there any processing that's going on in your mind, or do you have it down? Is it's so natural for you now that you don't even really think about anything when you're shooting?
Well, my training is a lot of drilling, a lot of repetition. We try to make shooting like walking. When you walk down the street, you don't think right, left, right, left. You just do it. So it allows me in that case not to think about whole points or leads or stances, but rather think about calming myself down, being in that moment and understanding what's happening with the wind and the lighting, and really trying to focus on hitting each of the targets or whatever may be presented in front of me. So it's a little bit different than, say, somebody who's just starting off. You have to think of those things in the beginning.
Yeah.
But after a certain point, you reach this point where you don't really think about the most basic things. You're focused more on yourself, your heart beating, and really what's happening out on the field or the game of play.
Absolutely. Now, if you had to pick out your biggest weakness when it comes to shooting, what would be your biggest weakness and what would be your biggest strength?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say my biggest strength would be, and look at the positive in this. I start with the strength first. I get that all the time from my teammates. My biggest strength would be my resilience.
Yeah.
Whether I win or lose, coming back again and again, never giving up, even if I'm way behind, and never have a chance at it. I'm still going strong as hard, giving it my all. So I'd say my resilience, as well as I'd say my weakness is probably, I would say, my focus.
Yeah.
For me, I tend to like to do a lot of things, and I get so busy and so many things going at once that I may or may not be totally focused on what's at hand or what's going on. I may be thinking of something else.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody.
So how did you first get involved in shooting to begin with?
Well, shooting was something that was passed down generationally in my family. My grandfather was a houndsman, a big outdoorsman, along with my father. And my dad taught my mom and dad taught me. And I actually started in a local NRA junior program out at one of the local gun clubs. And I started shooting competitive rifle. I was actually doing 3P, which would be standing, kneeling, and prone in 22. And my parents, they had a thing at the club. Why don't you try skeet or trap or the moving targets? And I went out this one day and tried it, and I was hooked. And somebody said, why don't you try the club shoot and the state shoot? And it just kind of kept growing.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I was going to the Olympics.
That's freaking awesome. So so at what age exactly did you really start competing seriously?
I would say I started competing when I was about 10. 10. And that was just at the local gun clubs, at the state and the world shoot. And that was an American skeet. And then from there, it just kind of progressed up. By the time I was 13, I had won the world in American skeet for open women. And that's when the Olympic coach saw me and invited me back to the Olympic Training Center.
Okay. So for instance, I'm somebody who wants to become an Olympic skeet shooter. Like I want to challenge Kim. Like say there's a girl out there who I want to challenge. I want to go up against Kim someday. What's the typical path or journey for somebody to kind of get to that point? Is there like a summer league for skeet shooters or something?
Well, there's several different ways. There's quite a few different programs that have kids funneling to the Olympic program. For example, the 4-H, SCTP, some of these other organizations with high schools and stuff that are actually taking the creme de la creme of their kids and funneling them to the Olympic, it's basically the Olympic type of starting on that process. So they have what they call a junior Olympic program. The kids will be invited to a camp usually, and then they'll shoot in a series of competitions or matches. And then depending upon where they place or how they do, they will be invited back or start the process. And it usually takes several years. You just never know. It depends on the talent. I've seen people go in and within 1 or 2 years, they're on the team or even the same year. It really depends upon the focus of the person and their talent and really where they're coming from.
Gotcha. And this came to me also, wanted to ask you, is there one big upset in your career that stands out to you to this day that you think about? Or have you just been doing too much winning?
I mean, you don't win them all, I have to say. But I would say, one of the biggest or difficult challenges for me, I wouldn't say it was an upset,
Yeah.
but the biggest things for me was when they eliminated my event
Gotcha.
in doubles trap, and I was forced to switch events. And that was after the 2004 Olympics and having to go into Beijing shooting international skeet. That was one of the biggest things for me because I had grown up with all these people and traveled with them. And now I was kind of being forced out of that event and forced into another that I didn't really know anybody. And I had to start over and start at the bottom and work your way up, which isn't always the easiest thing. So that for me was probably my biggest challenge. I wouldn't say it was an upset, but it's always hard to start over.
Yeah. No, absolutely. If you don't mind me asking, why did they cancel that event though? Why did they eliminate it?
It's all politics. Some people will say because there wasn't enough women competing in the event.
Gotcha.
Other people will say that it's because, the table or the round table of people are made up from all different cultures from all over the world, and we're just one vote on that. There was a lot of different reasons or speculations. I really don't know the true answer to that. I mean, as I always say, I'm just a competitor, and my job is to go out and shoot and bring home those medals for the USA.
Which you've definitely been doing. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to keep on talking with Kim.